So now I get to install a Leddy 75 for axolotls. When you're looking at somewhere to place an aquarium, it's really important that the support goes through to the floor, which it does in this case. What we don't want is one where we've got the support here and then the other beam there where there's just a couple of nails connecting it, or we don't want the legs to be somewhere else, not underneath the support. So this looks like a nice strong place for it. And then we've got this mat that we're going to put down, and that will just take up any possible irregularities in the base to make sure the aquarium doesn't crack. So you never want to place glass straight onto a hard surface, otherwise any irregularities in the surface may cause the glass to crack. Now, because we're setting this tank up for axolotls, Mexican walking fish, we're going to go for a very, very fine substrate. So I'm just giving it a clean first, because I always like cleaning the substrate first. But this bag of gravel is ridiculously clean. So normally I have to do many bucket loads to get the gravel clean. But I mean, that water is basically pumping off completely clean. So this, I would never guarantee this is always the case, but this Aquael gravel is really nice and clean. I'm very impressed. Now we're going to install the filter in this aquarium, and it's really important that this filter agitates the surface when it pumps. And now it also comes with a heater, but we're not going to put the heater in right now because we're currently making this a axolotl tank and they like the water cold, so the heater is not going to be necessary. But you want to put the heater aside because you do want to be realistic with your expectations. And an axolotl can become a wonderful pet, but sometimes change is king. If you have the same animals for too long and you find that you stop looking at them and then potentially stop looking after them, it's better just to trade them in and get something different. And in that case, you may very well use the heater later on, but we're not going to use it right now. The filter, there's an impeller in there. You want to pull that out and give it a clean at least a couple of times a year. And then there's also a sponge that's inside this section here that you just turn and take off. And you want to clean that sponge weekly or every 2 weeks using water from the fish tank, not water from the tap, because you're going to grow good bacteria in there, and you don't want the good bacteria that grows in there killed by the chlorine in the tap water. Now, I'm not happy with the sound of this air stone, because if you actually lift this out of the water, the pump itself is actually quite quiet, but the noise coming out of this air stone is way too loud. Now, I tried the other one and I think that was even louder, so I don't think that's an acceptable amount of sound. So I'm going to recommend that we replace this air stone and find one that's quieter than this one. Otherwise, we need to consider replacing that one and maybe just doing extra water flow. I've got the filter pumping, and see how the filter is agitating the surface. That's really important, because what will happen is good bacteria will form inside the filter, and the good bacteria will suck oxygen out of the water. So when the water goes back into the aquarium again, we really want it to be breaking or agitating the surface. This aquarium also has a flipper on it. Now, these flippers are just the best thing you'll ever buy. They really make cleaning the glass very, very easy. I think everyone should have one of these things. And then when you're storing it, just store it with the blade out of the water. So we've got a fish net here in case we need to remove any animals from the aquarium. Thing is a gravel cleaner. What you do with this is you use that for siphoning the water out of the tank. So you siphon the water down to a bucket. You just get the siphon started, and then what you do is you pump this into the gravel, and then the gravel will come up and spin around, and all the dirt will come out when you're doing a water change. And you'll find with this really fine gravel, you have to keep the hose kinked, because you'll need to get the waste out without the gravel coming out. So you really need to kink the hose when you're actually taking water out when you're doing a water change. So you want to take all the water out through the sand, and by doing that you need to kink it or you'll suck the sand out. Now, with this very fine sand, it's important that it's stirred up regularly. So the animals themselves should do that to a degree, but anytime you're getting in there, make sure you give it a good stir up. And anytime you're cleaning the tank, any ornaments or decorations you've got, it's good to pull them out and clean underneath them. And any ornaments or decorations you get for the aquarium, it's really good to switch them out every now and then. So set it all up, make it look nice, make sure there's lots of hollow things that they can go in, but nothing that's small enough they can get trapped in. And then over a period of months, if those ornaments look a bit, how you going after a while, what's great is just get them, place them in the sun, leave them there for a day or so, then flip them over, leave them there for a day or so, and then hit them with a hose, and you'll find they clean up quite well. Then you can just put those ones aside, because rotating ornaments in the aquarium is something I highly encourage, because it makes it more interesting for you, and it absolutely makes it more interesting for your fish, because that's their little world, and you want to create change in the world to make it interesting for them. With the blue or black on the back of this little thing, because it's a black tank, we ended up going with blue, but obviously you could just switch that out whenever you want. Sydney tap water typically has a 0 kH level, so what I'm going to do is just put just a little bit of kH in here, and then we want to get that tested before we add the animals. Various salts and various minerals that can help the immune system of your animals. So I'm just going to tip a little bit of that in here now, and then your GH can easily be tested. Every single time that new water goes into this aquarium, whether it's a water change or whether it's a top-up, it's really important that you add water ager, because the water ager will take out chlorines, chloromones, or any other potential toxins that are in your tap water. Added the water ager, we're going to put some stability in, and what stability is some good bacteria, and that will help to seed the filter and help to biologically activate the aquarium. But you never want to add this stuff unless you've already added the water ager, because if you haven't added the water ager and you put the bacteria in, the chlorine in the tap water can kill the good bacteria that you've just added. And these products are better kept in the fridge once you've opened them. So it's good to redose this every now and then, particularly if you're doing a big water change, or if you're adding new fish, or if you're experiencing any issues with ammonium nitrite, or just to give it a little bit of a top up every now and then. First, set up a tank. It's normal for the glass to have high surface tension, so it can look like you've got faulty glass, but actually it's just bubbles. So if you run the magnet cleaner over the bubbles, you'll get rid of the bubbles. And now what's going to happen is we've got our filter on. Now we really only want the light on minimal amount of time. So we just switch off the light, and we really want the light on when we're enjoying the animals, but when we're asleep we want the lights off, and when we're out we want the light off. And the less light you get, the less algae you're going to get. So we've got a window here, so hopefully that isn't going to give us too much direct sunlight, because too much algae is going to be governed by the amount of light that we've got. Reduce the light, reduce the algae. So before animals go in this aquarium, what we really want is to bring down a sample of water, and we can check on that water to make sure that the levels are okay. If we find that the GH or KH is too low, we can adjust it. Chances are it will be fine. And then any time that you're adding new fish, you want to bring a little video of the tank running, include any bits and pieces you've got for your aquarium in the video, and bring a sample of water. And you want to do that every few months for no particular reason. And you definitely want to do it anytime you add new fish, or you definitely want to do it anytime that you're concerned about something. Changing over that noisy air pump for an extra filter to increase the filtration of this aquarium. Normally that air pump is a very high quality air pump. It's normally very silent, but for some reason that one was noisy. So I'm going to replace that for an extra filter, so we've got extra filtration. And then as far as this aquarium is concerned, this would be quite good for 2 adult axolotls, maximum of 3. Now, the less animals you have in an aquarium, the less maintenance you need to do. The more animals you have, the more you need to be ready to do water changes. Because let's say that you had 3 axolotls and you had a whole bunch of fish in there, then your tank would be running at capacity, which means you would need to be doing more water changes. Now, mind you, when you bring a sample of water and a video down to the shop, we can tell you when you need to be doing more water changes. So you've got a choice. You can either do more maintenance or you can have less animals. Now, as far as mixing walking fish with fish are concerned, there is always a risk. And mixing anything with axolotls is a little bit like, will your dog get along with my dog? And what I mean by that is that let's say we put 2 axolotls in this tank, chances are they get along fine, but they might not, just like your dog might not like my dog. So you need to just keep that in mind. And then as far as mixing fish, the most popular fish to mix with walking fish tend to be zebra danios and mountain clouds, and they can work really well or not. So basically you can put some mountain clouds or zebra danios into this aquarium, and you can find that they very quickly get eaten by the axolotls, or you can find that they take a long time to get eaten, or you can find they don't get eaten at all. But I wouldn't be putting fish like goldfish with them that might nibble on their gills, and I definitely wouldn't be putting any barbs like cherry barbs or sucking cats or anything like that that can damage them. So the safest fish I've found to mix with these animals is zebra danios and mountain clouds, and the question really is how long do they last for, because they might get snapped up and get eaten very quickly, or they might last for a while. Either way, it will definitely increase the entertainment for you and definitely for the walking fish. Now, if you ever do install an aquarium and you're too busy or lazy or distracted, then you can just call us and we can come and service the tank for you and get that as one other thing that you don't have to worry about.